Okay, so we're live on an impromptu live stream. Looks like we've got Vin here. So yes, he's Vin. I here. Sorry, I just gotta say this is just a really random, just run of the mill live stream. Just trying to like get this thing up and running. So bear with me while I do the sociable thing by like sharing links and whatnot. So thanks for the heads up on that one, Vin. I've got a link in the comments section there. So if you're wanting to join in, then please feel free to do so. Newcastle Distilling Co. Lucas, mate, is that you? Wow, mate, great to have you. Great to have you in here. We've got Ben. I'll say, you know what? Ah, sorry, I'm so bad at doing this. Just bear with me for a second. Yep, thumbs up, everybody. Please make sure you go and do that now because you can see how professional I am. So yeah, here we go. All right. Yeah. How is everybody doing? Like I said, let's just share this here again another time. Um, yeah, if anybody's wanting to join in on the chat, please feel free to do so. There is really no plan for this than just for this live stream today. Rather, instead, I just really want to just talk crap, drink whiskey, and yeah, just see what's going on out there. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get my drink ready. I am going to be killing this off tonight. That is the Starwood Dolce. Okay, let's see. Yeah. So this release, yeah, obviously a Starwood release. It never really was my favorite from them so far, but luckily on this very hot day, I found a very enjoyable way of is getting through the bottle, and that was just to turn it into a highball. I wish I had thought of doing that earlier on because I would have enjoyed this a lot more. For my palate, I felt that this whiskey was just a little bit too sweet, and yeah, I just couldn't really get into it until, like I said, I turned it into a highball today. And on this really ridiculously hot day that we've had, it is what I've needed. So time to finish that off. Donna Pass Whiskey, welcome in. Yep, talking crap, drink whiskey. That's all we're here for today. So, like I said, there's the link in the comments there. If you want to join in, please feel free to do so. For those of you who may not be aware, like I said, since that the name has come up as Newcastle Distilling Co., that is this guy here. I am assuming that this is Lucas Cattell from obviously Newcastle Distilling Co. So, mate, if you want to come in and I guess even start talking to these wonderful people about Australian whiskey and what you do, then please feel free to join in. But yeah, let's start saying hi to everybody. So, Vin, welcome. I hope you're doing well. Ben, what's up, brother? How you doing? And Donna Pass Whiskey, again, welcome to the chat. So, how have you all been? Oh man, that is really hitting the spot. So I don't know, maybe if any of you are interested in this at all, but this is a whiskey that I had reviewed quite a while ago. As I mentioned, it's the Starwood Dolce. Pretty much the main thing behind this was that they had um, the wine cask that was used for this is kind of like an Australian version of a Sicilian dessert wine. So yeah, like I said, it was quite sweet by itself, something that I couldn't really get into. And yeah, today I finally finished the bottle. Having said that, I think there is still a drop in there. So considering that it wasn't a great whiskey, it still wasn't outright horrible. So let's not waste the drop. Okay. Just put that down there and enjoy the drink. Um, yeah, so I know, I guess for those of you overseas who currently aren't in Australia at the moment, I guess it is the morning time for you. So, fill me in. What are you all drinking at the moment? Have you all had your morning coffee, or you got off work at 1 a.m.? So drinking. Oh, excellent. What are you drinking? So I've got quite a few new things here lying around as well. So let's just share some of these with you, and yeah, show you some things that you may not have been able to get, and some things that you may have gotten. So, all right. Oh, sorry, I'm just getting distracted by everything. This one here, this is another little beast from Starwood. This is their Starwood ginger beer cask. This is expression number 6. This is kind of like one of those things that gets released every now and then by a ballot. And unfortunately, most of the times I have not been successful in getting into the ballot. And the one time that I did, at the time, I unfortunately couldn't afford the bottle. Other expenses came up, but luckily, I actually found this in a local liquor store, so I was able to pick that up, and I've actually somehow managed to convince Ben from the Whiskey Diary as well to also get a bottle, and oddly enough, he was also able to get batch 6. Sorry, I just need to quickly check these notifications, make sure nobody needs me for anything. All right, all good. Yeah. What else? What else have I got lying? This beauty right here. Now, if any of you have been following the channel recently, then uh, you would have realized that I've started to become quite a bit of a Goin fan. So now we've got Gert in. I think this is the most people that I've had come in and join in for a live stream for a while. Everybody, welcome Gert. Say hi. Um, if you have not yet done so, make sure that you go and follow Whiskey Lovers Society. That is another awesome channel, as well as the Whiskey Diary as well. Everybody knows Vin, so I don't think I need to tell you guys to go and visit him. But for those of you who may not have, make sure you go and subscribe to Vin as well. Ben, mate, if you are able to, definitely come in and join on the chat. But yeah, let's show you this one. So this one here is the Goin cask strength, and this is batch number 8. Now, I recorded the review for this yesterday, so a little bit of a spoiler. You guys can expect to see the review out for this within a few days or so. I'll say I've got it uploaded, it's ready to go. It just has not been made public yet. But yeah, now that's just a little bit of something for you to look out for. I mean, Goin is an absolutely it's a stunning whiskey, or I should say they're a stunning distillery. I think most of what they've been putting out at the moment is just absolutely fantastic. I mean, recently I've reviewed the 10-year-old, the 15, the 18, the 25, and obviously now I've done this one, the 20. The cask strength edition, and I mean, with the exception of the 18, I wasn't that much of a fan of that. But unfortunately, look, you're not going to be so you're not going to be able to enjoy everything. The 18-year-old did disappoint me a little bit, but hey, what can you do? But that cask strength is absolutely stunning. All right, here's that link again. All right, getting thirsty. Like I said, if anybody's wanting to join in, please feel free to do so. Yeah. All right. So in the chat, in general, for me, I am quite a big fan of highballs. What is your go-to whiskey for making an awesome highball? Like I said, Gert, you may have missed this, but at the moment, so I just finished off this bottle, so that is what's gone into this highball for today. Uh, so yeah, I think one of the other whiskies that I've no drams, you're at work. All right, no worries, mate. Well, fine. If you weren't working and you were going to be having a highball, what whiskey would you be using? Now, this right here is another whiskey that I have recently reviewed. The review for this video is currently available. As I said, it is the most recent review that I have done. This is an absolutely brilliant Australian sherry bomb whiskey. It really is. It's absolutely incredible. I had gone to a local, let's say, as Aussies go, it was aptly called the craft booze market. So that's where I picked this from up. Oh, you've never had a highball. All right, mate, that's something that you're going to have to remedy. It is simple. Grab a whiskey, get a cup, ice, pour your whiskey, top it up with soda water, and there you go. You've got an instant classic highball that will get you through those hot summer days. I mean, obviously, in Scotland at the moment, I do not think that you are getting that summer weather yet, but once it comes around and you're needing something refreshing, you're going to need it. You can thank me for it later. Yeah, so coming back to this. So this is like an extremely small batch release. This is bottle number 6 of 67, and quite pricey as well. I had to like and a little bit about actually getting it, but after trying the sample of it at the markets, um, I couldn't pass it up. They had two other expressions available as well. So this one is the Apera cask, which is, as I mentioned, it's an Australian. An Apera is Australian sherry. One of the other releases they had was a bourbon cask, bourbon and tawny cask, which is Australian port, and then they had another one which was just again another, I think another Apera cask, but again much smaller batch. I think even that was only like a 20-liter cask. Um, yeah, and unfortunately we weren't able to get samples of that, but this one definitely stood out, and we picked this one up. So if you're wanting to see my thoughts on this, then you can check out my review later. um, i might even I might even pour a little bit of it tonight and just give it another quick review, or I'll actually leave it up to you guys. You guys can pick. We'll keep it for Australian whiskies. Would you like to hear about the Starwood ginger beer or the Snowy Mountains Apera? So one of the main stories about this one is that it is an independent bottling. The spirit itself comes from a Tasmanian distillery. Now, unfortunately, I do not know which distillery it came from, except that they were listing it as an award-winning distillery. Now, down in Tasmania, we do have quite a few award-winning distilleries. But this company here, the Snowy Mountain Spirits, they, I guess, bought some of their distillate and aged it up in the Snowy Mountains in New South Wales. So again, you get some very extreme weather changes up there. I believe that they are at about 1,200 meters above sea level there. I mean, it's called the Snowy Mountains for a reason. In the winter times, that area does become one of our snowfields in New South Wales. So obviously, it gets quite cold. But then, having said that, come summertime, it does the total flip around, and you get the extreme heat as well. Temperatures reaching up to high 30s and up to 40 degrees Celsius. So you're going to get some extreme like cask interaction going on there, especially when using small casks. Um, Coming back to the chat, let's see. Uh, Gert, you were saying to use the monkey shoulder. Definitely, I have used monkey shoulder in the past for highballs, and it always goes down really well. I think the fact that since monkey shoulder, I guess, was initially designed for bartending, I think it's one of those whiskeys that lends itself really well to um, obviously to cocktails and like basic whiskey mixes and things like that. Okay. So yeah, coming back to it again, drop me a comment in the comment section below. Which one would you like me to move on to next, the Starwood or the Snowy? I think Ben has opted for the Snowy, but we'll see if we can get any more votes in. If I missed anything in the chat. Seems like Deanston 12 or Brook Laddie, the classical Laddie, would make a nice highball. I would say so. Deanston I haven't tried yet. I really need to pull my finger out and try some Deanston. I don't know why I haven't. We do have it available here, but I have not yet tried it. The classic lady, definitely. I think that nice, rich, malty vanilla flavor that it has going for it would definitely lend itself well for a standard highball. Of course, I mean, I don't know how it is everywhere else, but in Australia, it would also be quite an expensive highball. Oh, I missed this one before. I think this was back to when I was asking what everybody was drinking. So you've got the Aaron Macklemore Cask Strength Batch 4. Heat but no smoke. That's good. I like it when you kind of get those contrasting, well, not those, when you kind of get those non-standard peaty flavors. Hellier's Road, definitely an Australian whiskey there. Unfortunately, Hellier's Road is, yeah, I can't get into them. I've generally found them quite horrible, to be honest. I've tried about 3 different expressions. Can't get into it. They really do nothing for me, unfortunately. They are not the best representation of Australian whiskey, I don't think. Snowy sounds good. All right, let's I'll pour a bit. Let it open up a little bit. I don't know how long this stream is going to go for. I might not have it going for that long. I just kind of wanted to. Oh god, this is a tight cork. I'm always getting worried that it might break. But I'll just pour a little bit. Let it sit there. And let it breathe a little bit. And I also forgot to mention this thing is 60.4% ABV. It is very high. Okay, so that's the highball done. Sorry again, just keeping all these distractions. All good. All right. Actually, what I might do, this is something that I didn't do in the main review that I have done from this. I'll add some water to it, and you guys can see what I think of it by adding water. This is something that I haven't done yet. So it sounds like a Lefroy cork. Definitely. I've had quite a few Lefroy corks where they just keep like squeaking and squeaking and squeaking as you're trying to open them up. Fortunately, I have not had one of them break on me yet. I'm hoping that it doesn't happen with this. Yeah, I don't know if I will have another cork to replace it. Fortunately, there's no cracks or anything in it yet. So let's see. Hopefully, it stays that way. Okay. So far, I've found that maybe even like keeping the cork wet really hasn't made any difference. But that doesn't matter. All right, let's get into this. Let's see how we go. So with this as well, all natural colored, non-chill filtered. Absolutely stunning. It's so rich. It's such a sweet and jammy nose on this. Actually, Edward, since you, my friend, are a fellow Aussie, this is something that you might even be able to find. I think you probably will have to look it up online. I mean, their bottles are quite pricey. I think from what I've seen so far, they're starting from about $180 Australian. But if you are wanting to, I guess, spend a little bit more on a good quality Australian whiskey, I think I would definitely check these guys out. Or if you're able to look into getting some samples, because yeah, this is actually really nice. So yeah, that's the Apera cask. Oh, we've got Greg. Greg's Whiskey Guide. Bonsoir, my friend. How are you? I don't know if you're able to, but if you can, please come and join me for the chat. It'll be great to hear from you. I haven't spoken. Oh, it's been quite a while since we've last spoken, so it'll be nice to hear from you for a little bit. You haven't really missed out on anything at the moment. That we've just been talking. Well, more so myself, I have just been talking random crap, and these unfortunate souls have decided to stay along for the ride. It seems like nobody else has anywhere better to be at the moment. So here I am, I guess, trying to hold down the fort and keep everybody entertained. The only thing that you may have missed so far is more so just a little bit of information about this. So this is an Australian independent bottling. The spirit comes from an undisclosed Tasmanian distillery, aged in an Apera cask, bottled at 60.4% ABV, and it is bottle 6 of 67. I like I said before, Greg, and I said that would have been one of the parts that you would have missed. I just wish that I have known which distillery that it came from. But yeah, let's get onto the nose of this. So cheers. So like I said, it is sweet, it is jammy. There's so much going on. It just keeps opening and opening and opening. I get dates, figs, prunes, sultanas. Edward, I know I've said this before on other sherry cask whiskies that I've reviewed before, but mate, this is definitely liquid Giseli. If Giseli was a whiskey, mate, this is it. Oh, it's so rich. I think. Oh wow, this is interesting. Okay, this is something that I didn't get before. I think I may be starting to get a little bit of star anise. There is like a little bit of a licoricey note coming from it. And Greg, you may be familiar with this. It kind of smells like when you have arak or ouzo when you've added the water to it and the that soft licorice note starts to come through. It's malty, chocolatey as well. Lots of milk chocolate. Greg, mate, are you able to join in for the chat at all, or are you currently working as well at the moment? Yeah, definitely milk chocolate. And then like dark chocolate aroma starts to come through as well. The nose on this, you can just keep coming back to it. Now, I mentioned a few times already that this has been bottled at 60.4% ABV. This is actually not a cask strength whiskey. What's it? I was speaking to the reps at the markets when I had bought this, and they were telling me. I asked, was it a cask strength? And they were saying that no, it's not. They did end up slightly proofing it down, and I guess just very so slightly. I'm very curious to see what it would have been out of the cask originally. I'm assuming it would have only been at maybe about 62 or something like that. But they've obviously haven't bought it down all that much. But that 60% is actually like the perfect sweet spot for it. All right, Greg, that's all right, mate. We'll have to get you in on another time. Hopefully, we can actually plan something that's just not a random, a random thing, and something that we can actually organize properly together. I don't know if you've actually seen this whiskey before, Greg, but this is you might even be able to get it on Master of Malt, the Starwood Ginger Beer Cask number 6. That is definitely worth a check out. If you're wanting to try something obscure, I would highly recommend this. I'll say, should I keep nosing or should I finally get in onto the taste? Mm. Oh, this is this nose just keeps teasing you. It just keeps inviting you in. It wants to be drunk, but at the same time, it just wants you to keep diving in and exploring. The oak is so soft. There is a nice pepperiness to it, but it is not intense. The actually, I've been curious about. I think I will need to ask about this because considering how strong those sherry notes are on this, I'm kind of assuming that maybe this cask might have been seasoned and filled wet. And normally you don't get that type of like sherry intensity on a dry cask, at least not from what I've experienced with other Australian whiskies. Um, for those of you who are watching at the moment, is this something that you have noticed before? If you've had a sherry cask finish, do you normally notice a more intense flavor when a cask has been seasoned and wet filled rather than if it's actually had the time to dry out? Frederick, welcome in. So we got Frederick from Dan by the Dram, or to not confuse people as well, from I should say Frederick from A Dram Divided. Make sure you go and check out A Dram Divided. They're another fantastic whiskey tube channel. Obviously, they are located in Sweden, and I don't know how I have not done this yet already. But again, from Greg from Greg's Whiskey Guide, make sure you go and follow Greg as well. Ben is asking where the hell is everybody from, mate. Let's put it this way. We've got a couple of Aussies in here. We've got people from the UK. We've got Brits living in Scotland. We've got the French. We've got, I believe, Gert, I believe, were you from Belgium? Um, yeah, this is an international crew here at the moment. Okay, just to fill you in, Fred, I'm sure the others are getting tired of this now, but this is an independent, it is an Australian independent bottling. The whiskey or the spirit from this has come from an undisclosed Tasmanian distillery, and it has been aged in, also, it has been matured in the Snowy Mountains in New South Wales. It's an Apera cask, 60.4% ABV, which the Apera is Australian sherry, and this is an extremely small batch release. This is bottle 6 of 67. All right, I'm gonna finally get on to the. Yeah, I think I said that you're from France, didn't I, Greg? Well, maybe I'm getting all mixed up now. Now I don't know. All right, let's get on with the palate. So, cheers. Fred, Frederick, mate, it was great to have you in here. Again, as I was saying to Greg, we'll definitely have to try to organize something on a later date. And yeah, we'll definitely do a live stream together. Enjoy the rest of your day. Now, this is such a high ABV whiskey, but it does not drink like a high ABV whiskey. There's another Australian whiskey that I've reviewed before and I've had on live streams quite a few times in the past, and that is the Craftworks Distillery I Am. Now, that is bottled at about 62 point something percent. It is the strongest whiskey that I have tried so far, and it is extremely intense. That is a whiskey that will grab you by the throat, it will punch you, it will kick you when you're down. But once you get through that initial intensity of the ABV, the spirit shines through really well and the flavor just really mellows and balances out. That is definitely a very interesting skill that Crafty from Craftworks has been able to develop. But this one, however, like I said, bottled 60.4% ABV, but it drinks as smooth as something that has been bottled at about 50 or 48. Having said that, I have had whiskies that have been bottled at 48% or 50%, and they have been much more intense than this. I don't know what they've done, but it is absolutely stunning. Okay, we've got a new viewer in today. Okay, nice to have you in the chat, mate. So it is a very good question that you're asking. So how can you justify buying Aussie whiskey when the price is so high versus the quality and maturity of spirit? Mate, at the end of the day, the most important thing I feel that what it comes down to is what myself as the drinker enjoys. Now, I've been fortunate that the majority of the Australian whiskies that I have tried so far have been really good. The quality has been amazing. Yes, there are a lot of whiskies out there, and especially Australian whiskies um, that aren't up to scratch. But that is something that has really started to change, especially recently. There are a lot more Australian whiskey releases coming out at the moment where their quality is absolutely sensational. And really, you just have to go and look at the awards that many of these distilleries that have been winning lately. I mean, recently, just in the World Whiskey Awards alone, Backwards Distillery have won gold for their rye. I think Archie Rose, I think, has won another one. Lark Distillery have won an award in this like current year's series so far. It's just like everything else. I mean, I'm enjoying the whiskey. I was able to try a sample of this, of especially this one. I mean, this again is another expensive bottle. It costs a lot, but I was able to try a sample of it before I had bought it. If I wasn't able to have tried a sample, I wouldn't have bought it. But after having the sample, I fell in love with it and I really just wanted to have the bottle. Having said that, if I wasn't able to afford it at the time, I would not have bought it. Then you've got other distilleries, say like Starwood, for example, who have an exceptional core range, um, and they come in at affordable prices. Uh, Take another distillery, just like Corowa, for example. Again, another Australian whiskey, or I should say, another Australian distillery. Again, they have an incredible core range that comes in at a very reasonable price, especially by Australian pricing standards. And the quality of the whiskey itself is absolutely fantastic. So I think the main thing is more so just being able to, if you're able to try samples, or if you know, I don't know where you're based, if you are in Australia, reach out to like the whiskey community in Australia. Most people will be more than willing to send you samples of things. If you're wanting to try different things, just reach out, and like I said, most people will be willing to send you samples. It really is the best way to try things. I think unfortunately the Australian whiskey industry, I think, especially going back to the 80s and 90s, or even before that, didn't really have the best reputation. And obviously, at the time when the current whiskey boom has started in Australia, at the start, there were a lot of distilleries where they were just starting off, they're brand new and they're learning what to do and what not to do. Fortunately, I think most of them have come to the point now where they've learned what not to do, and they're passing on that information to um, and they're passing that information on to um, the newer distilleries that are starting up. So just having that experience and the willingness to be able to share, it makes a big impact into the way the industry is evolving and changing right now. I don't know. That does. I think I went a very long way about answering your question. I hope that explanation helps. Um, So I'm from Brisbane, and I've tried a few Australian whiskies and have been incredibly disappointed, but feel as though your idea of chasing samples instead of full bottles is the best way to go. Mate, definitely. Um, Look, samples will be your best friend. And come on. Yeah, samples will be your best friend. And if you've got a chance to go to whiskey bars, if they have whiskeys available, um, definitely try them at bars. I mean, you're obviously better off to pay $15 to $20 for for like a standard pour of something than forking out the extra money. on, say, buying a full size bottle. Now, I'm just going to be like spitballing here, but um, I'm assuming that maybe a lot of the whiskeys that you have tried before that you haven't really enjoyed were probably most likely heavy wine cask influence and all that kind of thing. And a lot of those types of styles generally can be quite off-putting to a lot of people. For me myself, I enjoy wine cask finish or wine cask aged whiskies. I don't really have a problem with them. I really enjoy them. There are also many distilleries out there that don't use, say, like wine casks, and will focus more so on using, say, American oak ex bourbon and all that kind of thing. Um, let's see, do I have? Okay, bear with me. Sorry, this is going to get quite bumpy, but I've got something else to show you. Sorry, I should wasn't expecting this, so forgive me. All right. Ah, I need to have things more easily available. All right. Now, okay, if you are looking for an Australian whiskey that I guarantee that you'll love, or I shouldn't say I guarantee, I don't know whether you like peated whiskies at all or not, but check out the Chief's Son Tannist. If I was to pour you a glass of this without you knowing what it was, and I told you that this was, say, like a Highland single malt from Scotland, you would not, I guarantee you would not know the difference at all. Uh, if I told you this was a Scotch, and say any of you, really, anybody that's watching this or that's hanging out in the chat at the moment, if I was to pour a blind sample of this whiskey for you and told you it was a Scotch, you would not know that this was an Australian whiskey. Um, it is absolutely stunning. I believe the peat from this, I believe, is sourced from Scotland as well. So it does have that typical, I guess, Scottish Highland style of peat. And mate, the quality of the spirit is absolutely fantastic. I do believe that Chief Sun do sell samples from their website. So if that's something that you're interested in trying, definitely check them out. I've also reviewed them. So if you if you haven't seen my reviews of the Chief's Son whiskies, then definitely go and check those out um, after this video. Or if you want to reach out to me directly, mate, I'm also on Instagram and Facebook as well under the same name of Prestige Liquids. So, mate, please feel free to drop me a comment in the inbox. I'll probably be more likely to answer on Instagram than what I would be on Facebook. I don't always see the Facebook messages come through all the time for like the Prestige Liquid side. But if you jump onto Instagram and in DM me from there, I'll definitely see it. But yeah, check out Chief Sun, check out Corowa. I think Corowa will definitely give you an excellent indication of how good a proper wine cask matured whiskey can be. It does also help that the Corowa distillery have recently added a cooperage to the side of their distillery as well. So they are getting first choice access to exceptional quality casks. So uh, yeah, brilliant stuff. I think the main problem that you've had so far, okay, is that you just have not found the whiskey that suits your palate. And I guess that would go the same, exactly the same way as it would say for Scottish whiskey. I mean, you're not going to enjoy every Scotch that you've tried, um, but there will be many that you like. Again, the main thing is just finding out what you like. Greg, sorry, mate. I've been on my rant, so I haven't had a chance to see that message. I'll stop the rant there. I hope that touched the bases on all bases. But yeah, let me have a go back. All right, what have we got? Um, Okay, for some, not many, like Sullivan's Cove, already expensive when they appeared in EU a decade ago. Prices were expensive right from the start. But its success provoked crazy increase. Yeah, mate, 100% correct on that. Um, Unfortunately, I've never been able to. Um, I have not been fortunate enough to be able to try a Sullivan's Cove release. They are just way too far out of my price range. And then the other problem is that when these whiskies do get released, they sell out that quickly that nobody even has a chance to buy them, and then they just end up on the secondary market for 3 times the price that they originally went for. Um, it's absolutely ridiculous. Um, I think what we're finding now is that, well, I did not expect this. I did not expect this chat to kind of go for a more serious aspect. This was just going to be just some like random thing, but this is good. I'm really enjoying this. Um, the fact that now we are starting to see more Australian distilleries coming up and producing exceptional quality whiskey is that eventually it's going to get to the point where prices will need to start getting competitive. Now, the main issue that we have is that the taxes on the whiskey itself, like the excise tax that the distillers have to pay, is ridiculously one of the highest rates in the world. I think they are having to pay about up to, I think it could even well be over $90 per pure liter of alcohol that they produce is taxed, compared to the US where I don't even think it's a, I think it's under $10 per pure liter of spirit. It's absolutely ridiculous, the price range. But again, that is one of the main reasons why those prices are so high. But now that you are starting to see more distilleries coming up, I believe from what I've kind of been seeing as well lately, that um, a lot of these current Australian distilleries as well are slowly starting to expand. They may also then start to reduce prices a little bit, I guess, since they will be turning over more volume. So I'm hoping that that competition with each other and a higher production rate might help to eventually bring down prices. I mean, of course, you also have the other aspect of the spectrum is that we are buying these whiskies um, at the prices that they are, so that they at the prices that they currently are. So distillers are seeing that we are willing to pay. So you say you may not see something. I'm being hopeful. I hope that the prices will start to come down. Obviously, Greg, do you mean by state taxes? No, I mean national taxes. It's not the state; it is national. I guess we're quite lucky in Australia where, unlike the US, pretty much most of these taxes and things like that are uniform across the country. It's not like the US where taxes vary from state to state, from city to city, to town to town. They are uniform across the board. So I guess I misinterpreted. I mean, prices for Sullivan's Cove are like 20 to 30-year-old Scotch malts, and for some, you can even buy a Port Eleanor Brewer instead. And despite my praise for what they did, I don't. Oh, yeah, exactly. 100%. Um, the prices that they're going for, you can pick up. I think some of these types of whiskies, like Sullivan's Cove, for example, that go for high 200s to $300. Uh, yeah, you could pick up, say, I, I'm trying to think. The Glengoyne 18-year-old, I think, goes for under $200 a bottle. So you could almost get 2 bottles of Glengoyne 18-year-old, I think, for the same price that you would purchase 1 bottle of Sullivan's Cove. And they are definitely riding off the success of when they won their awards back in 2014. I honestly think we need to boycott some distilleries like Larkin, Sullivan's Cove, which are just outright price gouging. That's debatable. I would say, look, yes and no. Um, Lark is definitely coming into some controversy at the moment, especially with one of their CEOs. But then they also do have some other issues that I definitely do not agree with, where obviously they have purchased other distilleries and are selling their product under their own name. Now, that is something that I do not agree with, and obviously mostly everybody else will agree with as well, that is an act that should not be done unless the information is being disclosed, that that particular whiskey has come from another distillery. For that reason alone, I would say yes, well within your rights to boycott. But having said that, a lot of the luck whiskies are really nice. I mean, I don't know if you've had a chance to try the Luck Classic Cask, but it is a beautiful whiskey. It is very easy to drink. It is again a bit expensive, but again, it is very enjoyable. I would pay to buy another bottle of that. But again, that's my opinion. Yeah, maybe that will make them at least propose an entry level or say two expressions for a reasonable price. This is one thing that I've been starting to say a lot more frequently lately, and something that I was saying as well when I had started getting into Australian whiskies. One of the main problems that we have is that most of our distilleries do not have a core range. And I think for most distilleries to be able to maintain a standard and to become successful, they need to have a core range product available. Whether it's only one or two expressions, that doesn't matter, but there needs to be something that's there to that say fans of the distillery can come back to regularly. They're not going to be missing out on it. That's the problem when all these distilleries are doing small batch releases. People miss out, and then you just get tired of the hype. Again, I'll keep coming back to this distillery, Corowa. They have about four core range whiskies that are available there, as far as I know, all the time. Price range is excellent. The quality is incredible. And then they have their single batch releases as well. Chief Sun as well. They do the same thing. And again, they are one of the rare distilleries in Australia that bottles at 700 ml bottles. Yes, most of them are NAS. But again, look, why does an age statement have to be an issue? I think we need to start focusing more so on the quality of the whiskey and not just focusing on the age. I know we do use the age of the whiskey to kind of justify the prices, but the age again does not reflect quality. And I'll put that down. And I mentioned that when I did my reviews of the Goin series, that I started off with the 10, the 15, and the 18-year-old. I love the 10 and the 15-year-olds. The 18-year-old, it disappointed me. I would much rather buy the 10-year-old than I would buy the 18. So an age statement at the end of the day to me does not guarantee that you are going to get a good quality whiskey, nor should it justify the price. So you are right that we need to focus on quality, but companies like Lark are taking the piss. Look, there are lots of practices that they are doing at the moment that are very questionable. But unfortunately, that's just the way it is at the moment. And like you said, unless consumers do start being more vocal about it, then unfortunately not much will change. So saying the age is not going to be the same as Scotch. Obviously, with our type of climate, no, we can't say we are just not able to age the same way. But they should at least be transparent. Yeah, 100%. I can definitely agree with that. And there are also I've been noticing since I do purchase quite a lot of Australian whiskies, I am starting to see more. distilleries that are starting to at least label, say, when a cask was filled and when it was emptied. I mean, Starwood is another one that does that. I mean, I know on their standard core range they don't, but when you get like these project releases, they generally do. So this one was filled in 2016 and bottled in 2020. So at least you have a um, at least you have an indication. I mean, we all know that in Australia that they're going to be a minimum of 2 years old. Um, I guess it's the same with bourbon as well, where you have that minimum age requirement. But yeah, it's just one of those things that I guess we can always just keep going on about, just keep going on and on and on about. It definitely makes for an interesting conversation, that's for sure. Let's see if I've missed anything here. And Gert, now you're saying that, well, there's a lot of NAS whiskey that are now more expensive than a standard 12. Definitely. All you have to do is take a look at the Japanese whiskies. Same thing. Age statement ones, obviously ridiculously expensive, but even still, the NAS releases are, again, for Japanese whiskies, extremely expensive. And then coming back from the Australian perspective of that, how do we it's kind of like one thing that I kind of throw out there a little bit as well. In Australia, you'll have Australians complaining. I mean, I know I do it, we all do, and that we complain about the price of whiskies, especially for like NAS and all that kind of thing. But it's the same thing in other markets as well. There are Japanese whiskies, NAS, that are extremely expensive, and they are not all really Japanese whiskies either, but yet people are still willing to pay for it. Um, a vintage is yeah, definitely. It's an excellent way of providing transparency. I can agree with that, and it's a bit of information on the bottle that itself looks bloody awesome. Balcones Texas whiskey at 2 years old is considered very mature. Definitely, that's the same in Australia as well. And I believe that a lot of our climate is quite similar to, I guess, Kentucky and all that kind of thing. So our aging processes are probably very similar. We have to follow regulations though, but if we're clever, we can give I tried some huge clues about age on labels. Yeah, I guess there's always going to be some information out there. I guess some bottles as well will even put on there, like, will etch on the bottle when the bottle was filled and things like that. So there are usually little bits of information that you can find. I meant to talk about this, but we went on an awesome tangent instead. Um, yeah, man, this is an exceptional whiskey. It is NAS, definitely. It is expensive, hell yeah, but it is non-chill filtered. It's natural colored, and it is absolutely beautiful. It really is. Greg is saying now one has to compare what is comparable. One can't compare a young craft distillery's first whiskey or first years of production whiskies and industrial massive ones that can reduce cost and final price. Definitely. I think you have hit the nail on the head perfectly. You need to look at the contemporaries. You need to look at what I shouldn't say the competition, but what the other distilleries that are on the same playing field as these whiskies or other distilleries, and see how what the main differences are between them. this has been a great, a great rant. I had, let's say, I really had no idea that it was going to go in this direction. Okay, mate, thank you so much for joining in and helping to, I guess, focus this, focus the chat, and just really set it in a really interesting direction. I was not expecting this at all. Okay. All right, let's final pour, and then I think I'll have to call it a night. This is the Goin Cask Strength Batch 8. So this, obviously, single malt Scotch from the Highlands, bottled at 59.2% ABV. Again, sherry casks have been used for this. Obviously, not full sherry maturation, but they have been used. Natural colored, natural colored and non-chill filtered. Now, this in Australia goes for, I think, just a little bit over $100. This thing right here, Australian whiskey, I should mention as well, 700 ml bottle for this one, 500 ml bottle for this one. Fully sherry cask matured for this one, and again, non-chill filtered, natural colored, etc. Similar ABV levels as well. When it comes to, I think especially in Australia, when it comes to, I guess, choosing which one you are going to go for, naturally, myself included, and the majority of others are going to be going for this. It's a known brand, very good reputation, and you can pretty much guarantee that you are going to be getting something of an exceptional quality and value. Where, unfortunately, for something like this, unless you're able to try a sample like I will, you are going to overlook this. But once you've tried something like this, then you can start comparing to how it might be almost on the same playing field as something like this. But now that I've poured a little bit of this, let's let's have a little bit. Now, see the nose on this again. I guess I could probably still be getting some residue from the other whiskey. I didn't rinse this out properly. But again, it's similar. It's sweet, though. Where the main difference on the Goin is that it's not as the sweetness is not as fruity, but it has more of a honey and vanilla characteristic to it. In terms of texture and mouthfeel and all that kind of thing, they are virtually very similar to each other. If you were to try these both blind, obviously, yes, you'll be able to tell just by the nose alone that there is a flavor difference between the two. But I personally guarantee that you would not be able to pick out a quality difference. Uh, the quality, in my opinion anyway, these whiskies are on equal playing ground. Now, I don't, being that this is an NAS, I don't know what aged whiskies have gone into this, but obviously being a Scotch, the minimum age, also the minimum age is going to be, I think it's 3 years, I believe. How am I missing this? Yeah, I think 3 years is the minimum age for properly matured whiskey in Scotland, where this is a year shorter. But like I said, the overall quality of the whiskies are on par with each other, and I think that's what I would base my judgments off for these is the quality the same. Let's do a deal. You bring your collection of Aussie whiskies up to Brisbane, and I'll bust out my collection of Springbank, Hazelburn, Longrow, Kilkerran. I think we would have an absolutely fantastic night doing that. But I think, as I mentioned at the start of our rant, I think the main thing for you, okay, is just more so just finding the right Australian whiskey to suit your palate. And like I said, I hope you did end up writing down the ones that I've mentioned, because I think that you would really get into it. It does seem like you enjoy the more like standard Scotch style of whiskies. The those ones that I've mentioned to you before. So, like I said, the Chief's Son. Definitely check out the Corowa characters, and those will be, I think, two excellent whiskies for you to start off with. So yeah, 3-year-old Scotland indeed, but it is an NAS that Glengoyne probably in around 7 to 10 year mix. Yeah, you're probably right. I think that um, I did find for this release that the flavor profile was quite similar to the Glengoyne 10. Um, the I'm not getting it so much on this at the moment, since my palate is still, I guess, a little bit contaminated from the other whiskey. But I was getting, when I did my review of this, I was getting more of those typical citrus style notes as well that you get from Glengoyne. At the moment, I'm not getting that. Um, but again, even having this in I can't even speak anymore. Even having this whiskey now, after having that other sherry bomb, the flavors are complementing each other very well. There's no real fight going on. There is a really nice balance. Awesome. Saying you'll be off to get a bottle of Corowa tomorrow. You may have to check online. I don't know how easily available they are in other liquor stores, especially in Queensland. Online will be your best bet. I think same with the Cheap Sun as well. Definitely check them out. I know down here in Sydney, Uncle Dan's had them for on a really good sale, and I think, as I mentioned as well, they do offer sample sets for quite a reasonable price on their website. So, I mean, I'm not being sponsored by Chief Sun. I wish I was, but hey, if anybody from Chief Sun is watching this and you're wanting to send me some stuff, please feel free to do so. um, yeah, Chief Sun again. It's another brilliant distillery. I'm just trying to think which other ones have I had so far that would be similar to these ones. Oh, there's so many. I've built up such a list of Australian whiskies at the moment. I think I have come up close to almost 100 expressions. Um, it'll come to me later. Um, okay, so let's get back to this. So from Corowa, you're asking what's my verdict on characters, mate. Perfect starting point. You can't go wrong with that. I would also definitely recommend the Mad Dog Morgan. From memory, that is a musket cask finish or maturation, either one. I can't remember which one it was exactly, but those two are probably my favorite go-to. I did recently have a single barrel release as well. I think it was single barrel 32, which was the cask single barrel cask strength version of the Mad Dog Morgan. As I mentioned, that was a musket cask maturation, and easily my favorite whiskey that I have tried from Corowa so far. So Greg is saying, yep, contrary to terms belongs to the same group. Glengoyne doesn't age all its whiskies in sherry casks only. There are some bourbon casks in there, definitely, and this is one of them. It has not been a full sherry maturation. So it's been matured in 1/3 sherry cask, 2/3 refill cask, and a smattering of bourbon barrels. All right, Ben, thanks for joining in, mate. Hopefully, excuse me, next time you'll be able to join me in for a session. Okay, I think I'm about ready to wrap this up here. This has been an absolutely stunning chat. Thank you. I think this has been this has probably been the most fun that I've had on one of my own live streams for quite a while, and it has just absolutely helped having such a fantastic interactive audience as well. So RK, mate, especially to you, thank you for taking the time to join in and ask a few questions. You really helped this thing go along at a really awesome pace. Greg, as always, mate, your insights are always absolutely spot on and extremely insightful. Um, RK, if you do not already, and you need to have a whiskey expert that you can keep coming back to all the time, make sure you check this guy out right here. Go and follow Greg's Whiskey Guide. He has some awesome, informative content out there. Just an absolute wealth of knowledge. All right, that's it. Time to down the rest of this. Stunning whiskey. Damn, I'm in love with Glengoyne. I need to get some more Glengoyne expressions. I'm absolutely loving them right now. They've yeah, I think Glengoyne has easily become my favorite Scottish distillery at the moment. Oh, loving it. It's so damn good. That is such a good whiskey. Um, yeah, Greg, it's good to see you live, Andrew and guys. Sure, we'll have a plan. Yeah, definitely. We'll organize something at another time. All right, that's it. I'm not going to keep repeating myself over and over again. Um, to everybody, thank you for joining me on this live stream. It has been a pleasure having you here with me, and I will see you all again on the next one. Keep peace.